We're answering your questions. Welcome back to the McCann Dogs podcast. Spider pig does whatever a spider pig does. Can he swim from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig.
That week, that's for Albert.
Spin. Yeah.
That's for Albert.
Oh, we better get that in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
For you, Albert, we sung Spider Pig. Well, today's episode is going to be a Q&A episode, so I have no idea what's in the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Any question? Now, are these
what's
dog?
In the box? I haven't seen that
Are they
movie
all
in
dog
years.
training questions?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I assume. I did request dog training.
Maybe it's hairstyling tips.
Maybe.
I don't think they
You better answer them all then,
No,
because I'm in trouble.
Oh, no, I'm in trouble too.
Would you like to go first this
Okay.
time? Alrighty. What's in the box? Woof.
I hope it's a cupcake. It's not a cupcake.
It doesn't look like a cupcake at all.
Okay. What about a puppy who chews the leash? I'm not sure the house line will work because she chews her leash like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So that's normal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure Shannon's
Nonstop.
puppy Levon.
That's why I'm over here going, oh, yeah.
He's chewing his leash and puppy line, isn't he? Yes.
Yeah, so he did when he first came home. Mm-hmm. So I do not beat around the bush at all when it comes to that house line.
Right.
I said to Kip the other day, actually, Kip's my partner, and I was taking off the long line. We were just transitioning from coming from a walk, and I said, oh, I need to take off the long line because I have him drag like a 15-foot long line when we're out walking on the property. And then when we get into the house, he goes back to his shorter house line. And I said, oh, I've got to switch those out. And Kip's always teasing me because I'm so like on it with the dogs because I know what I want and I have high expectations. And, you know, I manage their behavior and I train and, you know, it's constant work, basically with me. And he's always teasing me, oh, you know what? Just let him loose. What's the harm? And of course, that earned Kip a long lecture about, I don't know what the harm is. That's why I'm having the house line on because it might be nothing where he's in the mood where he follows me around all day long and life is wonderful. Or he might be in the mood where he goes, screw you, Mom, I'm out of here. Come chase me. Come play. And he steals things and runs. So I'm not going to take that chance because I don't want to have him develop bad habits. I don't want to spend the rest of my life trying to chase this dog because he learned that playing keep away was fun and I don't want to have to solve that problem either. I'm going to prevent it. How about that? I'm going to make sure that the pup never learns to play keep away. So anyways, it earned Kip a pretty big lecture. But yeah, in the beginning, he was doing a lot of chewing in the house line, of course, because it's this weird thing that's distracting him. And every time he did, I would just either take it from his mouth or I would show him a toy and like distract him with that toy and say, this is a thing you could bite. And I would productively say, let's play with this. Let's play with this. Let's play with this. And probably about 3 or 4 days in, he forgot about the line.
Yes.
Because every time he went to pay attention to the line didn't give him any real reinforcement in return. I didn't sit there and let him chew it, which made a huge difference, right? A lot of the times people don't know what to do this, so they do nothing. And then they say, you know, he's always chewing the line. Well, you know what? If you are doing what you should with this young puppy and directing their behavior, you can overcome that within a few days, even the most determined pups. And he was pretty determined. I've had lots of other determined pups that, you know, sporting breeds, they love to have things in their mouth.
Yeah.
So something chasing them around, of course.
Right. It's a built-in toy. It's like, thank you for attaching this toy to me.
Yes, exactly. But just like every other problem, you know, if you put enough time into it, and in this case, it's usually a couple of days of consistently saying, this line isn't going to give you any rewards, but hey, pay attention to this over here. And part of it was that he forgot the line was there. And part of it was that he realized that I'm more fun and the things that I have to offer are more fun. So instead of thinking about the line because I'm not engaging with him or, you know, his life is boring, he's thinking about me because I'm constantly going, okay, let's do this, buddy. Let's do this, buddy. Let's do this. And part of that is also teaching him how to just be and how to relax and how to lie down on a bed and relax. So we're covering all our bases. But he doesn't have any time at this point where he's just out there laying around and has the opportunity to chew on the line.
Right, yes.
Like that's just not part of his life right now.
I think some puppies think it's a game, the way the people handle it. So the puppy starts to chew the line and you make this big deal out of it and wrestle it out of the puppy's mouth and drop it on the floor and then just stand there and the puppy grabs it again. And then the puppy repeats and the puppy goes, this is fun. Like, look at the attention I'm getting. This is hilarious fun. So you have to be very nonchalant. Just take it out, take them to something else. Take it out, move them on to something else. Eventually the puppy says, hey. I've also found too that some people who have problems with chewing the long line have these big,
Some
thick,
people who have problems with chewing the long.
the dog, they have a big, thick long line on the dog, and it's
gotcha.
so satisfying to
Yeah.
chew. Like, even I would like to chew it, but use a thin long line, something
This
that's
is
not
how feral
satisfying.
behavior starts,
Right,
Swanee.
yes. So like a
I
thin,
walk into Swanee's house and she and the puppy are laying on the ground
chewing
the
our
long
lines.
line.
This is so satisfying. Get something
Would you
really
bite
thin.
me if I tried to take it away from you?
I'd probably play tug. I'd probably tug with it. Tug back.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Oh, no,
I'll
I
stop
just say
making jokes.
a thin long
Yeah.
line is less satisfying for a puppy to chew on than a big fat one.
Most definitely. We actually have purpose-built house lines in the McCannDogs.store. So
Yes.
if you are looking for something that will work well as a house line for your puppy, that's a good place to get started. All right, I had to put my glasses on for this next one because
it
it's
must be
small type.
serious.
It's serious, small type. Okay, let's see here. I have a 9-month-old black lab. She is wonderful. Oh, that's good. I love that. So, you know what? So often, because we're solving people's problems, so often people lead with the problem and they never acknowledge that the dog
The
is
good stuff.
wonderful and
Yes.
they love it. So I
Yes.
love it when the comments start like that, especially when there's more coming.
Right.
But she's acknowledged that, or this person has acknowledged, Donna has acknowledged that she loves her dog, which is awesome. I love my dogs too. Thank you, Donna. That's nice. Okay, so I'm going to read it again because it was fun. I have a 9-month-old black lab. She is wonderful. Yay. I have been working with her based on some of your first videos. She sits, lays down, and stays well. She loves playing catch and balls and plays tugs. I want to train her. I think that's off leash, but it's cut off here.
Okay.
I want to train her off leash since we plan to take her on trips. How do I start with a 9-month-old? This is a fabulous question. And actually, I love it when it's a productive question and not just a complaint about how that didn't work with my dog.
Right.
Alrighty, so the way we train off-leash control is just transitioning. I'm going to take my glasses off now because I read the question. The way we train off-leash control is teaching the skills on leash and on long line, and then transitioning away from that long line. So
That's one of the reasons we're always saying try to keep your leash loose when you're
Yes,
training too.
Absolutely. This is a really critical component because if all your training is done on a tight leash, there's constant tension on your dog's collar. And then when you take that leash off, it's very obvious to the dog that there's no longer tension on the collar. And some dogs, it doesn't matter. You know, some dogs that are compliant and want to do the right thing, it won't matter with them. But lots of dogs that are like, I'm looking for an opportunity to be a little bit mischievous. I'm looking for an opportunity to play keep away. I'm looking for an opportunity to evade you, you know, whatever the case may be. Some of those dogs are going to go, ooh, I'm on leash. You can take charge of me. I'm off leash. You can't.
Right.
And then we end up with all these naughty behaviors. So I don't like to make it glaringly obvious at all when my dogs are on leash versus off leash. So as you mentioned, always a loose lead.
Yes.
Always. That's always my goal. I might fix a behavior, like maybe I'm placing a sit, for example. So I have some tension on the leash as I place the sit, but then immediately I'm going to put the slack back in the leash and let the dog make a decision. And of course, I'm going to address it if they get up, or I'm going to reward it if they continue to hold the position. So, how I transition to off leash with that is out in the real world. Like I just mentioned, I'm dragging a 15-foot piece of parachute cord.
And it
with
could
my
even
puppy
be
right
longer.
now.
When I
Yeah,
had my
absolutely.
Saluki, the first time I decided to drop the long line, she had 40 feet in a huge field of long line behind her because I knew how fast she could go.
Yes, exactly. And the long line itself is there as a tool to use. So think of it like training wheels, right? And think of it as training wheels when you're starting to wean away from the training wheels. So you might first have training wheels on the bike that are touching the ground. So you've got 3 solid wheels in the back, right? Picture this scenario. Now, everything's going well. My child is really doing great with this bike riding thing. They're feeling confident. They're feeling good about it. They're not scared of it anymore. Now I'm going to raise those wheels up just an inch, right? So now I'm balancing on the bike, but if I slip, I've got something to catch me, right? Think of your long line like that exact scenario. You know, you don't want to use it. Just like you want to have the leash loose when you're working on leash, you don't want to use the long line unless you need it. So I'm not holding the long line and keeping this constant bit of tension on the long line, etc. I might hold just enough so that I don't have myself, especially if you've got 40 feet of long line.
Yes.
I'm going to keep that line well managed. I'm going to make sure that I have most of it gathered up in my hand, but there's enough slack that my dog doesn't necessarily feel it.
Right.
Unless I need to use it, unless I need to make connection and say, maybe I'm doing come, then pop. Maybe I'm doing a response to name. Something that makes sure that I can hold my dog accountable, but then I'm immediately going to loosen off again. And I'm basically going to treat the dog like they're off leash, but I just have those training wheels to catch in case they make some sort of a mistake. Right. And then what I do with that is I shorten the long line. Yes. So if I started with 40 feet, I might go to 30 feet, then 20 feet, then
and how we do that is we cut the line. So we buy rope that is, you can cut, and you can tie knots back into it if you need to put the length back on. Bet.
I have a huge quantity of parachute cord that I bought some long time ago. It's green parachute cord, and I like that because it blends in with the grass, so it's not as super obvious to the dog. And I will do exactly what you just said. I'll cut off as much as I need to make that next step. Sometimes it takes several months to get from the point where I have that 40-foot long line to nothing. It depends on the dog. Right. Yes. It really depends on the dog, how cooperative, how likely they are to be responsive at that point. Sometimes you hit adolescence and things get a little bit wonky. Yep. You always just want to be one step ahead of the dog so that you can stop something if you don't like what you're seeing happening. And then you can decide whether or not you're ready for the next step of making that long line just a bit shorter.
Right. Yes. And even at Honda is 14, and he's back to dragging a long line because he's deaf. Yeah. So I still want him to get out and, be able to, run through fields. But for his safety, he's dragging a great big, actually it's bright red, his long line, so I could spot it. And if I see him heading out too far and he's not paying attention, I can just go up behind and gently step on it and, then wave him back when he feels that little bit of tension at the end. He looks back like, oh, what do you want? And I wave him back.
Perfect.
Sometimes with long lines, just a word of caution, they can run under your shoe if it's deep grass.
Okay.
So sometimes tying a few knots in a long line, if your dog's running, it will stop. It won't go under the sole of your shoe, because I've had that. I've stomped on a long line and it's just kept on running under my shoe.
Oh my God. All right, you're up. Next question. Sometimes that happens in the snow too.
Right, yes.
Use extra caution.
What are your suggestions with a 1-pound Chihuahua puppy? I cannot find a collar small enough, and the leashes are also too long and heavy. String or yarn would not be safe. I'm not sure what to try. Excellent question. Yeah. Yes. So if you go generally on Amazon, you should be able to find a collar small enough for a Chihuahua puppy. Yeah. They have such an array.
You might have to get into cat collars.
Yes, that's what else I was going to say is look at a cat collar. Go to the pet store, look for kitten collars. Do be careful though. A lot of cat and kitten collars have a pull away function
that are not strong enough.
Yes, so if the cat say got caught on a fence, it would open up. So look for one that's secure. And go from there. A cat leash, a ferret leash has a very light clip. A bunny leash, same thing. So look for like a small animal. And then I know Honda was very tiny when I got him. I lucked out and found him a collar that fit him at Walmart. For some reason, Walmart had teeny weeny collars.
Okay. So I've seen very small collars out and about before. I mean, they're definitely not as plentiful out there as all the different sizes of collars. But you can generally find a collar that'll be good for any size of dog. I mean, you might have to poke some more holes in a collar, or maybe talk to somebody who
your breeder,
collars.
Right? Yeah, or your breeder should have a good. Ask your breeder, where do I get a collar from?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good idea. But
yes, you're a small animal leash, like a ferret leash or rabbit leash. I think there's even rat leashes to go with little harnesses for them.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yes. I wish I had had a rat leash when I had my rat.
It's not too late to get a rat leash and a rat.
It's true. It's true. I just,
I don't know why rats haven't become
more rats.
Emotional support animals.
Oh.
Because people get dogs, and dogs are big.
Yeah.
But if you have an emotional support rat, it'll just ride in your pocket or ride in your hood. That'd be perfect.
There you go. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Next question. How do you control a very prey-driven German Shepherd dog? He can walk perfectly on leash and suddenly a bunny or a cat. This is training. I mean, here's the thing. If I head out there with my prey-driven creature and I expect my prey-driven creature to turn off their prey drive simply because I'm there with them and they're on leash, I'm going to lose.
Right.
You know, as much as it seems like it's fair, I pay the bills, I buy the dog food, blah, 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 blah. You should respect and you should not chase those creatures. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yes.
You know?
Like if you see a police dog who's on, hunting for a criminal, if a cat's not going to distract that police dog.
Exactly. That is an excellent point. That's training. You know, I mean, I've talked, probably not this episode, but I've talked many episodes about all the bunnies on my property and how much Ned is chasing the bunnies these days. And you know what? I don't care that he chases them because when I call him, he comes back to me. And that's not because I pay the bills. That's because I've put in the work, you know? And here's the thing. It can be hard because a lot of the times people think, well, how can I possibly teach him to come when I can't control those bunnies? Well, I don't use the bunnies to teach him to come. You know, the bunnies are the test.
Right.
The bunnies are when the recall is real. Right. All the time.
The bunnies are university. Yes. And you need to start at kindergarten.
Exactly. And I'm not waiting until a creature shows up and then, I'm going to go get my long line and train my dog. No, I'm being creative in my dog training. So I start out generally with dead toys on the ground. Dead toys just means a toy that's not moving. I'll start out with dead toys on the ground. I'll work my response to name, my response to recall with those toys there. And then what I do is I start to add a little bit of motion into the toy. And I don't want to overwhelm the dog to the point where their prey drive kicks in completely and they can't even think because they, there's a whole bunch of physical changes that happen. When my dog goes into prey drive mode, he puts on tunnel vision, right? He stops listening to things. He stops seeing things outside of this immediate field of vision. I always, this is a fairly awful analogy, but anytime you see a dead coyote on the side of the road, for example, that is because that coyote was likely in prey mode, chasing an animal. You know, no coyote is going to run out in front of a truck if they see it coming. But because they're in prey drive mode and they need to eat and they're chasing that creature, nature has them turn off a lot of the other external factors, right?
Yes.
It's like putting blinders on a horse. So if I expect my dog to listen when they're in that mode, I need to teach them how to listen in that mode. I can't just expect that I'll be able to say my dog's name and have that same impact as if there's nothing going on and there's nothing being chased. I need to create that. So now I start moving the toys a little bit, or I might have a helper come and move the toys. A great trick is a flirt pole because the flirt pole allows you to maneuver the toy and still have control of it.
Right.
So
or a remote control toy too. Yeah. Have your partner,
that would be my next level.
Get a little fur hat and stick it on a remote control toy.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I usually do the flirt pole first, and I do some work with the flirt pole because it's much easier for me to control that. And then I'll practice things like response to name, but I'll also practice general listening, right? I'll practice response to name and recall, but I'll also practice you need to sit from motion. Like as my dog's chasing the flirt pole toy, I will first stop the toy's motion, ask for the sit. And then once they've mastered that, I keep the toy in motion and ask for the sit. And then once that's great, I might pull out the remote control car and I might make that the moving creature. Now I'm going to make sure that I practice my recalls with other dogs around I'm just going to find the means of helping my dog get that practice in.
Yes.
And that's really what it is. It's not about them saying, oh no, I'm not going to listen.
Right.
It's about them learning how to listen in that scenario.
And we need to recognize the environment and our dog's body language.
Yeah.
So say, let's like use a stoplight as an analogy. The red zone is where your dog is fully engaged. So, we're walking along green, the dog's all calm. The moment I see my dog go into a yellow zone, so now the dog is looking at a squirrel, his tail's going up.
This process is loading.
It's
They're
loading,
getting excited about this thing. Yeah.
Now I want to react as I go from green to yellow. Once the light is turned red and my dog is, I've lost. I don't have my proper timing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. So don't wait and see.
Yeah.
You have to, I know there's a good saying too. It's don't look for the explosion, look for the fuse.
Yeah.
So you need to react as soon as you see the fuse.
Yeah.
Don't wait for your dog's explosion because now you're too late.
Absolutely. And it's so much harder at that point to break through and get them back. So do the work preemptively. And then in those moments when you see them start to get excited, you need to break that focus before they get to the point of that prey drive mode. As you're building.
A lot of it is staring. A lot of people don't realize the moment your dog starts to stare at something, you need to break that stare. So staring usually leads to an eruption.
Yes. And what they're staring at is what they're thinking about.
Right. Yes.
So if you're saying, things like leave it, and your dog is not turning back to you in response to that leave it, they're still thinking about that creature. Your leave it isn't working. You need to take action to make leave it work.
You know what? When I was just in Nova Scotia, my whole trip I only saw 2 squirrels.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. There's no gray and black squirrels. Well, there's very few. I just saw 2 red squirrels.
No kangaroos either, I bet.
Nothing like that.
That's interesting.
Whereas today, walking from my house to the car, I probably saw 10 squirrels. We have so many squirrels here.
I have an army of chipmunks and building forts chipmunks around my house right now, and they're so cute to watch.
I do like chipmunks.
So cute.
Okay. Can you speak to leash training a puppy? How old should I start, or is age even an issue?
Ooh.
Age is not an issue. You can, the moment you bring your puppy home, you can put that leash on right away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. And start teaching them skills right away, because I will tell you, development happens regardless of what you're doing.
Right.
And a 12-week-old puppy is a very different creature. When your puppy comes home at 8 weeks, you have that 4-week window before they hit 12 weeks where they're really cooperative and following you around and hanging on your every word. And then once they hit about 12 weeks, they start to develop and they start to realize there's a big world out there. Right. And Levon just hit 12 weeks last week. And I'll tell you, I'm so glad that I've put in the time to start building skills right away, because if I was starting from scratch right now, I would have a much harder time getting and keeping his focus, because now he's like, ooh, there's a big world I didn't even realize was here before.
Right, yeah.
Because his world was very small,
right.
But now it is starting to grow and grow.
A lot of people get into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes if people call us to enroll in our puppy classes, and we'll tell them what we teach in puppy, and they go, oh, he knows that already.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no, he's still in that.
Yeah.
It's like a baby fox stays with its mom when it's a baby, because if it leaves the mother fox, it will most likely get killed.
Yeah.
So, but as they get older, they do start to leave the nest.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that is just development.
Right.
And there's several development periods that will make things much more difficult for you if you haven't put in the time to build the skills already. So take the first opportunities you can.
Another myth I want to say, just because I was speaking to someone with this lately, they had bought I don't know, it was like a mixed breed, like a collie mix from a breeder. And the person who bred the dog said it doesn't shed, it's non-shedding. Ooh. And because puppy fur often doesn't really come out. When you have a little tiny 8-week-old puppy, they don't really shed. But I said, this is a fully shedding breed. This dog will shed. What
kind of dog was it?
It's like a collie mix.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they said, oh, yeah, he doesn't shed. And I'm like, it will shed. So, yeah, don't do some research.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This person seemed a bit shocked that I told them their puppy will shed as its new coat comes in. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Probably lots of shedding too. With
that was completely off topic, but I just felt maybe everyone
do research about the dogs, because you will find out very quickly whether or not this dog will actually be a good fit into your lifestyle. And mismatches are the hardest thing to overcome.
Yes.
If you get a dog that's going to match your lifestyle and an honest lifestyle, if you prefer to sit on the couch all week long and then maybe you take a couple of hikes on the weekend, there's going to be a certain type of dog that fits into that mold, and there's going to be lots of dogs that don't fit into that.
Right.
That won't be weekend warriors.
Yes.
So, pick a breed that's going to match your lifestyle, and you'll be so much happier.
Right. Just don't go with looks, because there's certain breeds I think are outstandingly beautiful, but I know I just am not at a point in my life where I want that breed.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Absolutely. If you're on a journey with a young puppy, join us in our Puppy Essentials classes, either in person or online, where you'll get to work with myself and the rest of the McCann Dogs instructors, and we will fully support you with your new puppy through all of the trials and tribulations that come along with a young puppy. All right, my next question here. The hardest thing for me is when I call my puppy to me and he ignores me. Then when I walk towards him, he runs away. How do I deal with that? So first off, rest assured that this does not mean your puppy doesn't like you. This is actually, a lot of the times, this is them trying to initiate play.
It's fun, yeah.
So it's fun to play keep away. And if you watch puppies in the litter, there's always, the big cheese puppy is the one going, tag, you're it, come chase me. You know, the big cheese puppy is always the one that all the other puppies want to be around, want to play with, etc. The one that's the best leader in the litter, that's like the big head honcho. That's usually the puppy that's calling the shots when it comes to the game.
Imagine if we were at a party and suddenly I went ee and ran and everyone chased me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I ran over there and everyone chased me.
Exactly.
I would think it was so much fun.
Yes, exactly. So first off, don't let this hurt your feelings. Don't take anything that your puppies or your dogs do personally. That's the thing that comes along with decades in dog training, is the ability to go, you know what? I know this isn't personal. I know this is just a dog behavior. So any of the naughty behaviors that you see, don't take it personally. You know, don't let yourself fall into that. The hardest thing for me part is this is just a puppy being a puppy. And on some level, these things that they do are because they're trying to engage with us and they're trying to play with us.
Yes.
So here's what I would do in that scenario. And here's what I have done with my own puppy. I will tell you, the first day that puppy came home, the first full day he spent at my house, as soon as he realized he was in the fenced yard, some of you might have listened to this podcast already, he went, yeehaw, and started to play keep away with me. He felt secure enough in that fenced yard to do that. And of course, he ran under the stairs, and I went, he went under the stairs, and I walked around to sort of meet him at the other side of the stairs, and he saw me coming, and he gave me this little glance, and then he went, tee-hee, and he ran to the other side of the stairs, and I was like, he did that on purpose. What a little butt. But truly, he was actually trying to get me to play with him. He was like, okay, I want you to chase me now. This is my new friend. This is the game we're going to play. And all I needed to do was go, buddy, I'm not going to chase you. But here, let's start building some value for you coming to me instead of me chasing you. So, of course, I had a line on him so that, because there's no way I'm ever going to have a puppy without a line on. Doesn't matter if they're in the house, in the yard, they have a line on. They have a leash or a line dragging, and that enables me to say, no, I'm not going to chase you. When I go to say, hey, you, I want you to come towards me, I can step on that line, and if the puppy goes, tee-hee, I see you coming, and goes to run in the opposite direction, they just can't, right? So the fun ends instantly. I instantly take the reinforcement value away from playing keep away, and I say, sorry, buddy, you can't go anywhere. Come here, bud. And I encourage him to me, and he follows me, and I go, yes, you're so smart. I pull out a little piece of chicken, and I fed him. And he goes, oh.
It's more fun to chase you than to have you chase me. Yeah.
And for that day, because I saw this happening, and right away I thought, I need to change his emotional state there. He can't be thinking keep away is the way to play with me. I need to get value built for him chasing me. So right away I had a pocket full of little pieces of chicken, and I just did that. I wandered around the yard, and as he followed me, I turned around and said yes, and I backed away, and I pulled out a little piece of chicken, and I rewarded him for chasing me a little bit, and very quickly turned that tendency to play keep away on his head. So truly, if this is you and your puppy, which it's pretty much every puppy, this is a normal puppy tendency, this keep away thing, and this I'm not going to come when you call me thing.
Yes, very normal.
Get some training in. You know, teach them that it's valuable to follow you. Teach them what their name is and how you expect them to respond. If you need help with that, we have great training programs, both online and in person. So you can train with us from anywhere in the world, and we would be more than happy to help guide you with some of these problems.
Yes. So yeah,
all of these problems, actually.
Yes. So
we're puppy experts.
Invoking the puppy's chase drive to chase you. Because I know often if I have the dogs off leash and I'm in the park, sometimes I don't even call them. I just wait till they glance at me, and then I turn and run, and they're like, "Oh, the chase is on!" And they chase me across the park, and
the chase is on.
They love
party
that.
Time.
Yes,
party,
party time. Excellent. Oh, 2 questions.
Oh, you're stealing them all.
Let's see here. Do you have any advice if my puppy is very anxious about closing the crate gate? She would. It's cut off here, but I think it's like she would chill in there for periods. But if I close and leave it, it cues the crying. Well, it's not that she's protesting that you're it's not anxious. She's saying, you know what? When I was in my litter, I could cry and make noise, and the mother dog or a litter mate would come over right away. So what we do is we close the crate door and walk away, and they say, well, for the last 8 weeks in the litter, if I squeaked, someone would come and look at me.
Exactly.
So I'm going to squeak to see if you come to see me.
Yeah.
So it's a tactic that dogs learn is to make noise. It's very normal.
Very normal.
All puppies cry in their
Yeah.
crate, and leaving them crying in their crate will not cause separation anxiety. Yeah. It will not cause anxiousness. The puppies have to learn to work it out through themselves that we can't be with them all the time.
Yep. Absolutely.
We make it worse if we keep going to them.
Yes.
Because the puppy says, oh, this works. I cry and they come back.
Yeah. I always call that one of those killing them with kindness things.
Yes.
We think that we're doing something good because we come back to nurture them when they're crying. But in the long run, we're actually causing them more stress.
We're causing separation anxiety by doing that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So helping the puppy understand that being in the crate, being solo is not the end of the world is such an important part of crate training.
Confident independence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. And this is something that every dog is going to need. And I think people spend way too much time hovering with their puppy's crates. And we will often recommend that when your puppy first comes home, put them in the crate and then keep them close so that you can comfort them and help them out. And I certainly think that that is a great tactic, but I wouldn't do it for any longer than a day or two.
Right. Yes.
And with my most recent puppy, with Levon, who is 12 weeks old right now, I actually had to push the envelope really quickly with him with the crate, and I loved how it worked out with him. I mean, he's a good, confident pup, but of course, just like every pup, as soon as I was out of sight and he realized he was alone for the first time in his life, probably, he started vocalizing. And I worked through it in that day.
Right.
Instead of hovering and trying to placate him and carrying him around with me, I said, you know what, tomorrow you're going to need to be at work and I'm going to need to be out helping with graduation. I'm going to drive this point home. So basically I made sure that when he stopped vocalizing, that's when I made my presence known. Hey buddy, I'm right here. All's good.
Right.
And whether I was still in the room or out of the room, I made sure that the only time that he ever got that reinforcement was when he was quiet.
Right.
And very quickly he figured out as I was practicing this and leaving the room, waiting for quiet or even interrupting. So if he would start vocalizing, rather than letting him get to that fever pitch of the vocalization, as he was just sort of whimpering a little bit, I would do that on the wall and he would stop to listen. And then I would go, oh, what a good pup. And I'd walk back in the room and he would go, oh, I stopped making noise and you came back. I made noise. You didn't show up. And it's the exact same as the tactic they figure out with vocalizing. And most times people make the mistake of paying attention to the puppy when the vocalizing is happening.
I think people truly think it's crying.
Yes.
But
it sounds like it is
sounds like it is.
heartbreaking.
It does.
Oh my gosh, when you hear those noises, even just mimicking that noise right there where I was like, I sounded so sad. Right. But yeah, you're right. It's not crying.
It's not crying.
Not crying.
It's yes.
Yeah. Tactical.
And it will often get worse before it gets better.
Yes.
It's called the extinction burst.
Yes.
So it's not working. It's not working. Let's dig in harder. And then finally they give up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that can be so counterintuitive too, right? It's getting worse instead of getting better, but that often is the case. You're absolutely right. Okay. My chi is stubborn. Oh gosh, I could talk for an hour just on that first. How many words is that? 5-word sentence. I could go on for an hour. I mean, dogs are stubborn if we reward them for being stubborn, right? If my dog pulls at the leash and that pulling results in my dog getting from point A to point B or getting to the thing they want quicker, that is reinforcing that behavior. And most humans would call that stubborn, but we end up actually teaching our dogs to be stubborn.
Right.
So
yes.
I would question my Chihuahua, I'm assuming, not just my Chi. What's the
Chihuahua?
Feng Shui.
No, the Feng Shui.
What's my Chi? There's something in there that's
there
Zen,
is something
right?
about Zen, yeah.
I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
Chakras?
Chakras and Chis, yeah. My Chi is stubborn. My Chihuahua is stubborn. Barks at strange dogs and pulls ideas, please. So as I just mentioned with the pulling, if pulling works, dogs are going to pull.
Right. And if they're not interrupted from barking, then they're going to bark.
Absolutely. There you go. There's the simple answer.
Right. Yeah. So dogs repeat what they find rewarding or fun. So
absolutely.
Yes. So if you do nothing or don't do the right things, usually people who call their dogs stubborn have not train their dog.
That's correct.
Because our dogs don't want to work against us.
Poorly.
Yes.
You know, it's
like they spent 2 days and think the dog should know it. Yes.
And here's the thing, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
You know, I've put a month into this puppy now. I'm 25 years in as a professional dog trainer, so I know the things that I want to focus on, right? I know what I want out of this puppy. I know how I need to get there. I'm troubleshooting somewhat, but I'm a month into this puppy, and at this point, he still doesn't have a reliable response to name. He's still in process with learning that. He knows how to sit on a verbal cue pretty reliably.
Right.
He knows how to out on a verbal cue quite reliably. We've worked hard on that one. He's got a few tricks under his belt. He's happy to run to me in the yard or on the property 90% of the time when I just call pup, pup, pup. You know, he's making progress with a lot of things, but we've barely scraped the surface.
Right.
So, I mean, if you've put enough time into training the dog and you've put enough time into managing the dog as well. See, that's the other thing that we often miss out on. This puppy is not just training when he's training. He is learning 24/7 right now. You know, unless he is asleep, he is learning. So I'm making sure that there's never an opportunity for him to learn how to pull. Like I was actually transitioning from outside to inside yesterday, and my partner was in the kitchen, and the puppy was really excited that my partner was in the kitchen as I was trying to walk through into the living room. And he started pulling towards Kip in the kitchen. And Kip, of course, is a sucker for a cute puppy, because who's not? So Kip was like, oh, look at him. And I said, nope, stop. And I just dealt with that pulling in the moment. Right. It wasn't that I taught him completely not to pull on leash, but in that moment I said, you're not getting to Kip until you stop pulling.
Exactly.
And those are sort of the defining moments, right? This is real life. This is a moment where he wanted to say hello to my partner in my kitchen.
Right.
You know,
and if you hadn't stopped Kip would have came over and patted him, and now he's been rewarded for his poor behavior.
Absolutely. And this is not a moment out on the street when he's pulling to see another dog. That's an obvious training moment. This is not a moment in class where he's pulling and I'm trying to address it, which is an obvious training moment. But he's still learning in that moment. And if I had let him pull to get to see Kip, that's a viable tactic now, in his opinion. In his little mind, pulling to go and see a person works. And you know what? He's really, really happy to see people. So he would be dragging me all over the place.
Right, yes.
And you know what? I'm sure I'm going to have to do this same thing several more times because, of course, why would he learn in that one situation?
Right.
Dogs are tremendously situational, and the next person who's different or novel is going to get that same behavior coming out. And I'll do the same thing. Nope, stop. Please don't say hello to him yet. And I'm going to deal with that pulling in the moment. And basically all I did was I in that moment, because it was like, okay, we're in my kitchen. I'm not going to let him pull to Kip, but I'm going to let him make a decision here. And I basically just held fast on the leash and waited until he realized that all this, trying to lunge out past the end of the leash and something's holding me back. And when he finally went, oh, it's not working, and he kind of loosened up, and he actually got distracted by a fluff on the ground and moved in and put slack in the leash. And from there I went, okay.
Right.
And I ran forward, and we both greeted Kip. And it was like, oh, okay. So it didn't work until I put slack in the leash. He might not have gotten it in that moment, but I didn't reinforce the pulling in that moment. Exactly. And I at least gave him food for thought. And that consistent way of addressing things is what teaches the dog to be a good dog.
Right.
But the inconsistent way of addressing things, and if I had let him pull to Kip and he got that reward for pulling, and then I turned around and called him stubborn.
Right. Yes. Like stubborn means the dog fully understands the situation and that
chooses not to.
and chooses not to. Yeah. So it's like it's like the Chihuahua fully 100% understands he should not bark and pull at that dog, but he says, I'm still going to. Yeah. So I would ask, what have you done to train that dog?
Absolutely.
To teach that dog not to do that?
Yes. And in the moment going, oh, stop that barking. That's not going to cut the mustard.
No.
You need to teach how to walk nicely. Walking nicely does not contain barking.
Right.
You need to teach the dog how to turn off when they get into that excited state. A lot of the times with our little dogs, people let things go because they're little, right? And they think it's cute sometimes that the dog's being tough, and the dog gets reinforced for all these behaviors and then becomes a little menace.
Exactly.
So treat your little dogs like they're big
Pretend
dogs.
it's a Rottweiler on the end of the leash.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And you know what? Like, you can pick that dog up for the entirety of its life. But you're going to enjoy the quality of life with a well-trained dog that listens so much more.
Like it's
than,
it's
even
embarrassing
this.
to have a dog do that.
I mean, this really, it does speak volumes. My dog is stubborn. You know, you're obviously not living the most wonderful relationship that you could with your dog, where it's based on mutual understanding and mutual respect between the two of you.
I've never once, out of all the dogs I've owned, felt my dog was stubborn.
No. I might have way back in the day before I knew that wasn't a realistic thing to apply to a dog, but I definitely don't now.
Right. I think, too, there's an old saying, stubborn as a mule. And I bet now with enhanced training techniques and more science we know about animal training, mules aren't stubborn.
No.
We were just being adversive and not understanding the mule.
Yeah.
But I bet mules are not stubborn. I bet they're wonderful to work with.
Yeah. And every creature is motivated by something.
Right.
So you just have to understand drives. You have to understand what motivates that creature, and then you can start building communication with them and everything will come together.
Yes.
But if you're stuck on this idea that your dog is stubborn, that your dog is somehow spiteful, you're never going to find the solution.
That's
because
just not that's not a personality trait of a dog.
Exactly. And you know what? Feels like more of an excuse than anything, too. So
Yes.
jump in, get training, enjoy your dog. Enjoy your dog. Don't paint them with a brush that says they're stubborn any more than you'd want to do that with your kids.
Right, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Enjoy your kids. Help them grow and enjoy them. I think
Yes.
there's one more left in there for you.
It's the corner question.
Drum roll.
Do you find covering a wire crate is a good idea, or should the puppy be able to see you? It can go either way.
Yeah.
So, dogs, especially young puppies, like to feel safe.
Yes.
And covering a wire crate is like a den. It's like a plastic crate. It just feels very safe in there. A wire crate, the puppy's
Wide
asleep.
open and
It's
airy.
wide open.
Yeah.
So
Takes a very secure puppy to be happy in that wide open feel.
So I would say, I will cover a wire crate. I might leave a little peephole so the puppy can see out. With other puppies, I might close the whole crate. When you cover a wire crate, you run into the danger that the puppy might pull whatever in. So be careful that they can't pull things in. I will put cardboard.
Yeah.
Is that you
That's
put,
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Cut up cardboard, put it around the outside of the wire crate. Then you could put a blanket over it to hold all the cardboard
So
together.
I actually just take a piece of cardboard that's bigger than the top of the crate.
Right.
And then from there, I put my towel over top because the width of the cardboard being wider than the crate holds it away from the side so the puppy can't reach it. You're building much more elaborate structures there with putting the cardboard all around, but that'll work too.
Now, one thing I will mention, don't use the wall as one of your sides. I did that once, and I woke up in the morning to this bizarre sound. It's like, what is that noise? And I glanced over, and I left a little peephole so I could see our Malinois puppy. And she was scooching her nose through the wire bars and was grinding her teeth on my wall.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm sure I've long moved out of that house, but I'm sure to this day there's still tooth marks in that wall. So, yeah, they'll chew a wall, too. So
Goodness. There you go.
So we had to pull the crate out a little bit.
Every mark on your drywall has a tale to tell.
Right.
Do you know what yours tell?
So it could, you could cover a crate.
Yes.
Experiment. That's what, there's often often it's trial and error. It's like this puppy loves the crate covered. I find most puppies do like a den.
Yeah.
I find if I leave my wire crate door open and my airplane, like my very plastic kennel open, usually my dogs choose to go and lay in the very kennel because it's den-like and has walls.
Doesn't surprise me at all. This puppy, when he was with his litter, if you've probably already heard me talking about this quite a bit, but she replaced the whelping box with crates once they were at an age where that was appropriate to do so, and all those puppies were in the crate sleeping. They chose to go into those crates because they felt den-like and were nice and secure, and they chose to sleep in there, and it made a big difference in the transition with Levon leaving his litter mates and coming home to, a life without all those fun litter buddies to play with.
I like the litter people you were about
I was
to
gonna
say.
say
Litter puppy.
people.
Litter people.
It's like the village people, the litter people.
The litter people.
The litter people.
We'll start
litter
a band.
people are
We'll
coming.
start a band, and that's what we'll call it.
There you go. What will our best song be? We're going to have our own YMCA
I know, we'll have to, yeah.
Definitely audience participation.
Right.
I don't want to start a band that does not involve audience participation.
I know, that'd be far more fun. Well,
Absolutely.
It's like Queen did the...
I almost started singing there and then I chickened out. We do have a lot of singing that goes on around here, usually in our warm-ups. Our producer always threatens to put together a highlight reel of our singing. Well, on that note, I'm Instructor Shannon.
Instructor Swanee.
Thanks for joining us and happy training.
The McCann Dogs podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at mccanndogs.com. Happy training!